Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com. And today I have a special guest. It is my good friend, Greg Walter. Hi, Greg. How are you?
Hey, Cesar. How are you? I'm doing awesome.
Great, man. Great. Before we get started, let me give the listeners a little bit of background about you so they can kind of get an idea of who you are. Okay. So Greg is a national speaker, certified business hypnosis, real estate investor, wealth strategist, and private money lender. He is the president and CEO of $1 Associates, as well as the founder of several additional companies. Greg has been providing business with expert advice on corporate credit building, financing, and financial management for over 25 years. His mission is to help business owners access money to grow their company and has become the authority in helping them secure large amounts of funding for their businesses. He is widely regarded as recognized as one of the leading corporate credit and finance experts in the country. Wow, that's awesome.
Well, thank you, Cesar.
I love that. So, yeah. I mean, hey, that you definitely do a lot of things, and that's awesome. So, actually, I wanted to spend some time and talk about. Right now we're going through a lot of difficult times, very unknown. People, to an extent, are freaking out, and so I want to talk about the things that are going on right now and how we can possibly help people, get out of that fear that's going on right now. And number two, how the financing can apply to them in this, especially in these tough times. For
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
So but before I get going, is there anything that I might have missed? Like anything else that we, maybe you can give our listeners in terms of your background and what is it that you do nowadays?
No, it's, I do most of my business is financing right now, unsecured lines of credit. It's my own platform. We do it through, credit card stacking and unsecured lines and other things in the business name. Also, I am a real estate investor. I've been a real estate investor for over 20 years.
Nice.
I flipped, and I should say I've done over 500 transactions. Not 500 flips, 500 transactions. 500 flips is a lot.
Yeah, right.
But when you look at transaction, I've taken properties subject to, I've taken them owner finance, I've taken them on a lease option, I've taken a property every single way, any way that you can kind of imagine. And most of those properties, I turned around and sold. I did have a portfolio at one point before the crash. About 49 properties. I think at one point that was my highest I've ever had at any given time. And I sold them all, for various different reasons. Back prior to the crash, didn't know it was coming, of course.
Right.
So I cashed out back then. And, I just dabble in real estate now. And, my main business is business funding. So.
Yeah. And talking about the housing crash, even right now, we'll probably might be seeing something possibly. I don't know what's your take on that. And then I think that's part of the reason why many people are kind of fearful of what could happen. What are some of the things that are going to happen, not only with the real estate, even with banks and all the financing, like a lot of that stuff. What is your take on that?
Well, I think with, lending right now, lending is still lending. Lenders are still lending. Banks are still lending money. I haven't seen a change in that. One of the things that that may happen, or at least I believe that's going to happen, is in what they call the business revenue lending. There's different types of lending options. I call them the 5 C's of lending. You know what I mean? You have what they call cash flow lending. That's based off of business bank accounts. You know what I mean? If you've got monthly income going into your bank account, you know, most industries can get money and you can get money. Now it's an expensive, you know, factor or whatever you want to call it, or interest rate that you end up paying on an annual basis. But, you know, that lending might be the only one that I see dry up, because if businesses don't have money coming in, you know, that revenue is paid out of cash flow in the future. And if you don't have that cash flow coming in the future, you know, we might see that type of lending dry up. Right now, it hasn't. I mean, I've gotten one email on industries, I guess, restaurants, you know, for example, just because of what's happened in, you know, mandatory shutdowns in the restaurants. But we might see more of that to come. And then the other type of lending is what we call asset lending, which is real estate. You know what I mean? It's based off an asset. That hasn't dried up. In fact, all my lenders, you know, over 100 of them, I'm getting emails and bombarded with emails on a regular basis every day that says we're open for business. We're lending money. We're still here. You know, we're here to help. And, you know, even though they're posting the coronavirus thing, they're lending because it's an asset-based lending. And they know that they're going to, you know, it's leverage in the event they have that asset to protect them. And as long as you have that monthly cash flow coming in, if it's a real estate project and you're doing it and it's based off of the revenue of the tenants, you know, right now it's still currently available and you've got that money to pay for it. So they're still doing that type of lending.
Right.
The rehab lending is obviously always going to be there. It's not even based off of income. It's based off of an asset. It's based off an after repair value, and that type of lending is, you know, as long as, you know, I believe there's going to be an opportunity to buy more and more of that type of property, because, you know, you have a lot of the new real estate investors that either don't know how to get the money, don't have the means to repair it, or know how to repair it. You know, we might see those people go away, and it's going to leave us seasoned people, you know, tremendous opportunities where people that have knowledge, like, you know, even though I know that you're a coach and stuff, a mentor in that type of industry. And, you know, there's where an opportunity, if they had somebody like you, you know, as their mentor and to coach them along the way, that somebody that has experience, they'll be able to overcome this.
Right. Yeah. And do you feel like part of that too? Do you feel that perhaps there's also going to be an increase of available properties just because of what's going on right now with the coronavirus and just people not being able to sustain their mortgages
I think when we come out on the other end, I made a lot of money. I probably did over 150 properties, and we say that 500 back in the day.
Yep.
It's subject to where I took over the existing mortgages. So, you know, if the real estate values come down, you know, I mean, one of the greatest opportunities that people don't even know about is what they call taking the property subject to. That's where if somebody's behind and they're not in a foreclosure process, you know what I mean, procedure, not in foreclosure, where you can actually take over those mortgage payments, because either one, they can't afford it anymore. Number two, they've lost their job. Number three, they transferred out because they lost their job and had to go someplace else. You know, back in the day, that was what I was doing a lot of. I was taking properties subject to their existing mortgage. And then what I would do is I'd lease option it back out. So I think there's going to be a tremendous, if that market goes that way, there's going to be a tremendous opportunity. So, you know, even if the values go down, I mean, you'll have a lot of people that say, well, geez, I don't want to buy it subject to because the mortgage may be more than what the house is worth. But if, you know, remember, most of those people, or most of the people in the last, you know, 4 or 5 years have gotten mortgages down record low.
Very low. Yeah.
And I mean, 3%, you know what I mean? Back when I was doing it, they were 6 and 7%, and I was still doing it.
Wow.
And it's all about cash flow. You know what I mean? If you can take that mortgage and still make a monthly rent off that and be able to sustain that mortgage payment with the debt, meaning taxes, insurance, and you know, things of that nature, repairs, and have some repair costs in there, and you're taking a lump sum deposit from somebody to sell it on a lease option, you can wait for the market to return. You know what I mean? And just get that monthly cash flow and still have an asset.
Right. Let me ask you, so what was the primary reason that you decided to kind of step away from real estate? And then what, you know, was the motivation of opening up your own credit company?
Well, my main, I've always had the business funding company. I just did real estate as a, I should say I thought I was doing it as a hobby, although I turned it into a huge business.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, I learned how to do all this stuff by not being involved in the business. Although one of the reasons why I'm not doing it to the extent I did it before is because, I gave up a lot of family time. It was really just, I was, so engrossed into the business and doing a lot of transactions. I was doing it back then for the money. I don't do things for money anymore because obviously you're going to offset that with, family. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not, that got me more to go back into the finance business. And I did have my finance company that whole time. One of the things I didn't do is I didn't share my lenders or I didn't share my strategies because I was in fear of competition. Doing this in a local area or smaller area. And I was afraid that, my, even though there wasn't that much competition back then, I was afraid that, the 4 or 5 people that were, competing against me at that point, that's how small it was.
Right.
I didn't want to tell them who my lenders were, who my private money lenders were, how to structure the deals and things of that nature. I think of that differently now. I don't really care, because, now I'll give them all my lenders because, I'll make money off the lending. So,
right.
Definitely. And then I get to spend time with my family and it's not something I've learned to buy properties without even looking at it. I looked at a property via online yesterday and put a bid in on a property in
cool.
my area. So,
and you know what? And even right now with the fact that mostly everybody in the U.S., obviously, I would say all over the place, but specifically in the U.S., we are now confined to our home, right? This virtual, wholesaling or virtual investing is going to become more of a popular aspect. And obviously someone that's trying to do that needs to have somebody like you or me that can help them structure that, or even, if they want to get the funding for that, even have that funding. And that's something that you can help with, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And going to that virtual thing, you're absolutely correct. I think people get, new people in the real estate business think it's their house. They don't separate the difference between, this is my house or I'm going to live in it, so I got to look at it and look at everything. It's all about the numbers.
Right.
And if the numbers work, it really doesn't matter what the house is. It's the, what it looks like, because you're going to fix it. You're not selling it like that unless you're doing a wholesale deal. So the true rehabber, is going to buy that house below market. They're going to fix it and they're going to bring it up to market value and they're going to make the spread on that. It's what it is. So what do you care what it looks like? You're not looking at the particular things like I need this, and this. And again, if you're doing that in the first time home market buyers, those people are usually coming from apartments or, rentals. So they're not as, as savvy, or they don't want things like, somebody like me or you, that's, it's a second or third house. We already know what we want now.
Right.
I want the view of the golf course. I want the view of the lake. I want the, the closets, all the things that you didn't think about when you bought your first.
When you first bought your,
because you came from a small, 900, maybe less than 900 square foot apartment.
Right.
That was an apartment, size, and to a real estate. Now the second time around, it's a little bit different. So, again, those are people that are going to be looking at houses. So that market may a little bit, people are scared a little bit going out right now. I don't know. My realtor told me that she's still selling houses. And people
that's one thing that I'm seeing. I mean, I know there's obviously, again, there's a lot of many different things going on, and people have been brought down on the amount of hours from work and all these different aspects, right? The one thing that I'm still seeing though, because I have a lot of friends still out here that are realtors, there's still a lot of activity when it comes down to real estate, and people getting properties under contract, new people going into those houses. At the end of the day, people still need a place to live. People still need a place to be, even after all these things that are going on. So I don't foresee that going down. I think we are going to see it, but it's not going to be as big as we think it's going to be.
No, it's not the 2008, 2007, 2008 crash. There's difference. This is not financial. This is medical.
Yeah.
So it's, our obviously, which is a bigger, I think bigger than the financials. So as long as the financial market can stay strong, the banks are strong, whether they temporarily, look at things a little bit differently, from a standpoint of, like I said, the asset-based lending, or I should say the cash flow-based lending might be a little bit tighter, because if that business doesn't have that cash flow in. But from an asset-based lending or a credit-based lending, I don't see things changing, because they have an asset. Now, again, that asset might go down. So on the asset-based lending, you just got to make sure you're buying, just like in any real estate transaction, you got to make sure you're buying right.
Right. It comes down to the numbers.
Yeah, the money's based when you buy, not when you do it. But credit lending is there's three different types of credit lending. There's, personal credit, obviously, which is based off your personal credit score. There's, business credit, which is based off of, or I should say corporate credit, I should say first, is based strictly off a corporation like Walmart, Dell, and they're the larger companies. That's what we call corporate credit. And then there's business credit, which is a mix of both. It's business credit is more or less using your personal credit to get business credit in the business name, and not have that show up on your personal credit report. So that lending over like the last week, last week was like most of the people that I did those programs for were getting a lot more than what my system said they should get. We keep all the algorithms, all the guidelines of all those lenders. And what we do is we match their credit profile with the lenders, and then we apply in a certain order to get them to maximize their funding. Well, most of those people were getting double what we would anticipate that way.
So even now with everything going on, that hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, they're getting more funding, huh?
Correct. And I think the reason why is because, again, think about it from a standpoint of a credit card company. If they give you a 0% offer today, they know what's going on. All right. So if they're giving you that, what 95% of the people don't pay it off or don't have the means to pay it off, or even if they did, so what's going to happen is that 0% is going to kick in at an interest rate at some point, whether it's a year from now or 18 months from now. So the lenders know that eventually people are, even if they're temporarily laid off from their work, they'll be able to get that. And when the interest kicks in, they'll have a job. So I think what they're doing is they're luring people in because they know at some point that maybe during this short period of time, people might not be paying that off like they would before. I'll be honest with you, I'm not paying off any of my credit cards right now. Everything I do is 0% interest now. I'm either transferring my balances over to a 0% card, or I'm using the 0% cards to purchase everything on right now. And I'm going to make payments, and I'm going to use my cash to invest in real estate. Just in case we need that I need that extra money, I'm going to use that cash to invest.
Right.
And I'll just, run credit for now. And I'll pay it off when the time comes from flipping a house. And
yeah. Now, does your programs, is it mostly for small businesses, individuals? What is your niche?
We can do a mix of both. Obviously we always want to try to fund in a business. And again, sometimes we can help people set up that business, an LLC quickly if they don't have one. We prefer to fund in a business because there's no, it doesn't show up on a personal credit report. So if somebody's maxing out their credit cards, they don't have to worry about it affecting their personal credit score. But we can do a mix of personal, business, and or either or, personal only, business only. Really the profile is really going to determine, and the needs of that person is going to determine where they want to go. Now we also have a personal loan program, but I don't know. Again, a lot of that was W-2, 1099 income. I don't know what's going to happen with that, program on like those fixed payments. Personal credit cards are still, we're still getting people tons of personal credit cards, tons of business credit cards. The personal is what I don't know. Because income, that's more of a, hey, send me copies of your pay stubs.
Got it. Yeah, I like this. One thing that you guys do, and I know it is based on the business, which is good though. The people that are listening to us, if they're in a startup business or they've been an established business, they can definitely take advantage of this. But you can provide unsecured business lines of credit up to $250,000 with no collateral, no financials required. And that's whether is a startup or a already established business. How does that work? Or what can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's, go back to the day where they used to have the, I don't know if you want to call them, back before the crash, you had stated income. People were used to that stated income, and that's one of the things that got us in trouble back in the day, I guess, with the real estate market, with regular people that were buying houses, non-investors. Let's just make it clear, they were non-investors, because an investor doesn't really care about that. An investor just cares about, making a profit, right? They don't care about the house. But you'd have somebody that was state their income. So it's stated income. There's no collateral because it's not attached to a real estate. It's not attached to a piece of car. It's not attached to a bank account. There's no financials because we don't have to send in financials. It's stated income, stated assets, stated business revenue, stated profit. So you go back to, you just state what you make. The advantage on the real estate end is that most people don't realize is that, when I buy a house for $100,000, I'm going to use low numbers. I know you're in California. I'm in an area where we don't have $1 million houses that you're going to flip.
Right, exactly.
Depending on the area I'm in, where I am, whether I'm in Florida or New York at that time. And I'm in upstate New York, but during the summertime. But let's just say you buy a house for $100,000 and you put 50 in it and you sell it for 300. Well, most people will put down my business revenue is 150,000 because I made 150,000. That's wrong. It's incorrect. Your business revenue is 300,000.
Yeah. Right.
And your profit is 150. Your gross profit's 150. So it's not so the real estate investors have an advantage of using those larger numbers for stated and getting a lot more credit. Now, again, to get more credit in the business side, if you own a house, you get more. If your business has been in effect for more than 2 years, you get more. Those are things that can get you higher limits or higher, credit limits. But it's still stated, income, stated assets, and that hasn't changed. And like I said, I think the lenders, like last week, like I said, most everybody, in fact, every single one I did out succeeded what we thought they were going to get projected wise.
Wow, that's amazing. And you haven't heard anything new from your contacts or the people you work with, the lenders, in terms of changing any rules, with everything going on?
No, just one preferred lender I have. Again, in that we go back to that cash flow lending, and it's not that they closed down; they just basically restricted some industry right now, temporarily, not funding this industry. But that was based off of business bank accounts. Right. One of them was restaurants. Contractors might have in that respect might have some different things depending on where they were doing. Now, depending on what their repairs were, because again, a homeowner is not going to, if their roof is 20 years old, but it's not leaking and they don't need to replace it, and they were thinking about replacing it, they're not going to replace it today.
Right. They're going to wait.
They're going to wait 6 months. So certain industries might see that cash flow lending tighten up a little bit. But the credit and asset base, I don't see that going or changing.
Yeah. You never seen a really bad shift in marketing since you've been doing this, right?
No. I've seen this for 25 years. Yeah. In the business side, going back to even the day when we had to crash, most people would talk about their personal credit cards going down. Yeah. On the business side, it doesn't happen. It's very rare that you'll have a business credit card take the limit from $50,000 down to $25,000. As long as you're making on-time payments and you have that, card. So, on the personal side, it's a little bit different. Yeah. Look at the risk different. That's why they usually give, 2 to 3 times more on the business side than they do on the personal side. Somebody normally would get a $10,000 credit card, can easily get a $20,000 or $30,000 credit card on the business side. Right. And you don't see those limits going down. If anything, like I said, I'm getting offers, even me personally. I've got some ones myself. Yeah, that's nice. I think I'm going to get a couple more, just so I can have that 0%. Right.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I personally firsthand know that, your program is actually pretty awesome. And on top of that, you have really good people working, with you that are helping you with all this, which is a good aspect of that. That's always a big plus, Yeah,
so, I got a great staff.
Yeah, you do.
But I pay them well.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It comes with the job, right? You definitely want to take care of your customers, and you have good employees, which is awesome. Yeah,
the employees are the backbone to everything.
Yes, they are. So that leads me to my a couple of other questions that I have for you. So thinking about what we're going through right now, what do you think? Maybe shifting a little bit from financing, what do you think are some ideas or tips that you can give people that are going through, that we're going through this right now, that they can do to still stay afloat of, their finances and also maybe in their businesses? Because I mean, something's gonna grow out of this. If you're laid off temporarily, you can probably do something different. Like, what are some tips or ideas you can think of?
Well, again, I think now's the time for education. Find a mentor. I mean, I know that's the key to anything, is that this is when you really need a mentor. Somebody that's been through it before or something. Again, I think even in real estate, even though I'm not a real estate mentor, somebody like you would be a perfect example that if I didn't have any experience, I'd want to seek out, because especially if I know that real estate market's there, and I think I'm going to have a better opportunity to buy more real estate, because again, most people don't know how. They don't know how to do it the right way, or they can't bid where they were bidding before. Somebody would be happy to make $5,000 profit, and a new would think that's great. I mean, it doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
There's too much risk, especially now. Now is the time where you want to make sure you have that extra profit in there. Just in case, because that market shifts a little bit. On the other end, but I think this is just going to be a short term. As soon as everything, because again, I don't see anything happen. The stock market's completely different than the banks. Those are investors. Those are people that are investing in the stock market. So even though that's going down, the financial institutions are strong. So it's not like the real estate crash that we had in 2007, 2008, where you saw most of those places dry up.
Yeah, and I was one of them. I mean, unfortunately, and going back to being a rookie and not knowing what you're doing, that's exactly what happened to me. 2005, 2006, I bought a couple of houses. Then 2007, 2008. Bottom line, I was exactly in that seed where I had these properties. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have any knowledge of anything. I was just, I thought I was on top of the world. And then the housing crash took a hit, and I went down with it. And because I had a lot of it was all on my personal credit. I had 10 years of bad credit. I couldn't buy anything. I couldn't do anything. So I went down with that. Now, obviously, I know that to be a little bit different, you have to be with a group of people that can help you. And you and I, we both met through a mentor, a mutual of us. And just within that community and that mentors, like, we're learning so many different things all the time. So I know I can relate to that for sure.
See, and the other thing is that, I don't want to go from a place of fear right now.
Right.
I mean, what's happening out there, I've learned over the last 2 or 3 years how to buy real estate without even looking at anything. The last property I did, I looked at it the day of closing only because I went to the closing for the first closing I went to in probably 7 years.
Yeah.
And I have flipped some houses, here and there, and sold some houses, over the last 5, 6, 7 years. When I say I don't do real estate, I just don't do it to the level that I did it before.
Right.
I saw it on the last day.
Wow.
Which, and it was because I was going to the closing. And when I went to the closing, I said to my attorney, I'm like, geez, I didn't even know this is much paper I have to sign. Because I usually would give him a power of attorney to
do it. Yeah.
And sign everything for me.
Yeah.
And that's when I sold that last property. But, you just have to, we're in, I don't know if you've heard of the, what do they call it? The K-wave. The
K-wave. Yep.
Yeah. So, where I made a mistake is after I sold all that property, in 2010, because it was kind of 2007, 2008, right? In 2010 was the bottom of that market, I believe.
Yeah.
If I go back and remember 2010, 2011 started going up a little bit.
Right.
12, 13, 14, and then, we went way back up now, right?
Yep.
So I should have been buying then at the bottom of that market.
Right.
And that's where most people made their most wealth, was buying at that lower end of the market. So, the thing is, I don't think we're there yet. I don't think the real estate market's going to go down there, but it's still a tremendous opportunity for real estate investors, or, to find a coach, to find a mentor, and to start figuring out, well, how do I capitalize on the market and where it is right now, and make money in the crisis that we're in. And I have to see the property. You're not buying it to live in it.
No, right. And it's funny, you mentioned this. I was looking at some properties yesterday, and again, with today's technology, I mean, I'm out here. Where are you today? I don't know where you're at, but you're in Florida.
I'm in Florida.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay here until New York's worse than Florida right now. So
Okay.
I'm an appraiser.
So with the technology, right? It goes back to that though. Like you can literally do anything. I was looking at some properties, and I just literally went to Google's Maps, and I was like literally driving down the streets and looking at, changing the view so I can see what's behind, what's on the other side. So again, you can do that just by using the technology and getting an idea, a feel of where that property might be, and just put an offer, or do whatever strategy you want to do with that property. You don't have to be there physically. You can do so many different things. So I do agree that being able to get educated and understanding that and getting some of the tips on how to do that, today is the perfect time to find someone that can help you with that for sure.
There's Google Earth. I use Google Earth all the time.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Because Google Earth can actually go down into the actual thing, and you can see all the neighbors from the Earth, from the satellite views.
You can actually see the backyard and all that stuff, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and then you can see, well, geez, this is a property. What's the neighbor look like? Is there a bar there? Is there what's going on with that property to make sure that you're making the right choice?
Yeah.
But again, remember, you're not living in it.
Right. Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's the numbers. If the numbers work, buy it.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about, is the numbers.
Yeah, no, that definitely they do. So I'm out of curiosity. I'm wondering, are there any particular habits that you do on a day-to-day basis to just keep you on this positive? Like you said, there shouldn't be no fear. We shouldn't be living out of fear. And obviously, it's unfortunate what's going on. Except stay positive, have that positive mind. Are there anything that you do specifically on a daily basis or however often to get you in that state of mind?
Well, I started going back to back when I was doing a lot of real estate investing. And the first thing I do right now is I go on and I look at the MLS, and I'll look at properties. I'll look for foreclosures. I'll look for, different types of opportunities out there, that are available for real estate. So that's one thing that I've changed is, that part of my daily routine now is looking for those opportunities. But I'm also looking for education. Looking at other ways to educate myself, for different ways to market my services, or find a different mentor or program or things of that nature that's going to help me get to that next level, or even, go through these times.
Yeah.
Because people are scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not out speaking, so I can't make money speaking.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess I could do a webinar, right?
You can definitely do a webinar and educate people. I do believe that right now this is the perfect time to get that self-education, find a mentor, like you said, either do a webinar and bring in people, instead of actually just sitting down on the couch, watching TV, thinking about all the negative things that are going on, watching the news, all that stuff. I think you got to turn that and say, okay, this is an opportunity for us to create something. And again, going back to that self-education, I think that's the key here.
Yeah, we got to stay positive. Again, no matter what's happening out there, it's not going to be like this forever.
Right.
So the thing is, when, don't know. Could be 2 weeks from now, could be 2 months from now, right? But take that time, spend the time with your family, which I've been doing.
Yeah.
My kids probably aren't used to seeing me this much, all the time, even though they do see me a lot. They're not used to see me this much.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're seeing me every day now. I don't go to an office.
Yeah.
Don't want to go to an office.
Right.
So working at home is fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That's definitely. So I have one last question for you.
Sure.
If you were to give one advice on how people can overcome anything, it doesn't matter what it is, anything in their life today, what would that be?
I would say again, stay positive. Don't get caught up in, what's going on out there. Yes, it is serious. I'm not saying that you're not going to catch anything.
Right.
Just look at it that we're going to overcome, what's going on right now. I think, the economy is going to just take right back off again. This might be an opportunity where we're going to see a lot of influx of everything. We're going to get flooded afterwards.
I think so too.
We're going to get flooded with, people, because if people are, just think about this right now, we're restricted. We're supposed to stay in, right? In most places, in California, I know it's like New York, stay in, go to work. In New York, they've shut down. Nobody can go to work. You can't gather in, more than 10 people. In some places it's 2 or 3.
Yeah. Here's no more than 6 people, even with your family. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's all, all that time that's spent there. When we come out of this, people are going to want to travel. People are going to want to do things. And I think it's just going to make a tremendous opportunity for everybody.
Yeah,
and I think the economy will just, rebound pretty quickly. It's, again, since the financial institutions are there, we're safe. I mean, if that was to fail or fall out, then I might have a different, thought on that.
Right. Definitely. And if people wanted to reach out to you, they might be interested in one of your programs, specifically when it comes up to corporate credit. How can people find you? How can they work with you?
They can either call me or, the best thing to do is they can reach me by email, which is Greg at actionbusinessfunding.com. Again, it's Greg at actionbusinessfunding.com. They can go on my website, which is www.actionbusinessfunding.com, and see all the different programs that are available. To me, I think the best program out there right now is the unsecured credit lines and unsecured credit cards, especially if you have a business. Because again, I don't know about you, but I'm going to, put everything on 0%, and I'll probably make more than a minimum payment because 100% goes towards principal, to try to get it so it doesn't get out of hand, and I'll save my money.
Yeah, definitely.
See, people are hoarding toilet paper and paper towels. You can't find baby wipes either, right? Because
I went and I couldn't find any.
The diapers are still there, so you're wondering what's going on, but baby wipes are gone. So I think they're using those instead of regular wipes. People are hoarding that. I'm hoarding cash.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I'm going to save my money, and I'm going to just, use as much credit as I can, because again, especially on the business side, it doesn't affect your personal credit. So that'll still stay strong and things of that nature. So that's what I'm doing. That's what one of the suggestions I would make to anybody is, whether they have it or try to get them, whether they use me or not. If you've got a 0% credit card, try to utilize that as much as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so actually, even people that want to flip properties, if they're new to the real estate, they can reach out to you and probably get that Harman lending or that funding for that, right?
We do both. Okay. So whether they have, I even flipped the house. The last house I did was on credit cards.
Yeah,
100%.
Right.
I didn't pay any interest either.
Wow.
On it. I wouldn't suggest doing that because it's a lot of work.
Right.
I wouldn't do that today, just on what's happened. I did it just to see if it was done. But yeah, you can utilize, and people, I don't really call it hard money lending, because hard money lending is back when I did it, back in 2000, back before the crash and stuff, when I was doing a lot of it. Interest rates at that time, I were paying 16% for my money, 16, 17%, but it didn't matter. Because again, it was a monthly rate. So if you annualize it over, it was 18%. So it's still, 1.5% a month, while I had the money out. I don't call rates at under 12% annualized hard money lending anymore. You can get money down at 6 and 7, 8%, depending on the property size.
Wow.
What you have to look out for is, are they charging you interest on your unused funds? They might give you a lower interest rate. And so they says, oh, gee, I got a great deal. I got a, loan at 7%, hard money loan at 7, to do this real estate deal. But they don't realize they're paying money on the money they haven't used yet. The construction cost, that we have part of it, instead of paying 8% or a couple points more and not paying interest until you draw on that money, in the long run. And you got to look at the fees too. Sometimes lenders will charge you, larger fees, what I call junk fees. The extra attorney's fees, the processing fees, the closing fees. You have to kind of look at and outweigh those too, on there. But no, the money is on the asset side and credit side, it's flowing like crazy. Yeah,
definitely. Well, Greg, thank you so much, man. I really had a good time speaking to you and just, having this conversation. Yeah. And I really, really appreciate it. And so yeah, anyways, for the rest of you guys, make sure that you guys check out Greg at his website and reach out to him. He can definitely help you out and give you some good opportunities to grow your business through corporate finance and things of that nature. I'll definitely have his information here so you guys can actually check him out. So Greg, thank you so much again.
And also find a mentor like you, Cesar.
Yeah, definitely. Check me out too, please. Yes, for sure. So definitely. Thank you so much. And for the rest of you guys, please make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe to this podcast, and also check us out on YouTube and find us on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, all different platforms. We'll definitely be checking you guys out on the next podcast interview. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you tuned in to this podcast. You can find me at Spreaker.com, where you can like and subscribe. And to learn more about myself and my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at Facebook under Cesar R. Espino. Once again, thanks for joining me. I am looking forward to having you at the next episode, and know that you truly can overcome anything.